Tonight on News 5 Live, a solemn rainy procession for Belize's first Gigi on day 2 of her state funeral. More details on the $10 million building purchase by the former PUC. Will there be a relaxation of COVID regulations in the north? Municipal slates are shaping up for March 3rd, and we'll tell you 2 names sure to be on and off the ballots. And a new danger zone for tapirs. We'll tell you why environmentalists are deeply concerned. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when you sign up for Smart's Plus plan, you get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data. And it's a fact that you can sign up with your group of up to 5 members for Smart's Share plans and up to 40 members for Smart's Enterprise plans for unlimited talk, text, and data. Smart has the true unlimited plans. That's a fact. Be smart and live smart.
Welcome to News 5 Live for Tuesday, January 19th. I am Marlene Cuellar. The heavy downpour over Belize City today made the second National Day of Mourning to honor Belize's first Governor General feel even more somber. The rains forced slight adjustments in the planned procession, but the cortege proceeded with all the pomp and ceremony. The late Dame Manita Gordon was taken to the House of Culture Government House to lay in state. Despite the downpour, the turnout of persons who showed up to pay homage was respectable. Among them were Belize City Mayor Bernard Wagner, Speaker of the House of Representatives Valerie Woods, President of the Senate Carolyn Trench Sandiford, Minister of Human Development Dolores Balderramos Garcia, and several other notables. News 5's Isani Caetano reports.
Today is the second day of national mourning. The body of Dame Manita Gordon was viewed by invited guests only, as it lay in state at Government House here in Belize City. Among them were officials from both tiers of government, as well as a handful of persons who knew her individually. Minister of Human Development Dolores Balderramos Garcia attended a brief ceremony in honor of the late Governor General and shared a few words about Dr. Gordon's impact as an exemplar in Belizean society.
Back in 1981, then Premier George Price, and of course I declare my bias here, then Premier George Price, I thought it was a brilliant and forward-looking move for him to have appointed Dame Manita as our first Governor General. It showed a great respect for women, an ability to think outside of the box in terms of looking for leadership. And I thought that when Minita came in, it was a lovely day for all Belizeans because she carried out her role with compassion, with humility, with dignity. And I think that she's going to always remain as a wonderful role model, not only for women, but for all of us.
Throughout her life, Dr. Gordon was instrumental in the Girl Guides movement. This morning, a company of girls belonging to the organization paid tribute to her by saluting as they viewed her flag-draped casket.
From our archive, we can recall that she became a member of our association in 1940s, and she played a pivotal role as the patron of our association. She became a full member and was also actively involved in the uniform part of the organization. She was a member of St. Mary's, and her group members actively, they told us that she assisted them with their fundraising and every aspect that they needed to build their company to make it what it is today, the Girl Guides Association of Belize.
Many of those girls may not have known who the first Governor General was and have only read about her or were taught in a social studies course about Dr. Gordon. For Albert Era Representative Tracy Panton, she was entering her teenage years when the appointment was made.
I was maybe about 12 or 13 when she was appointed as our first Governor General. And I remember being in awe of the fact that there was a woman who was appointed to that position. No, there was always a quiet humility and dignity about her. She was vivacious in her own way. She used to always wear a lot of color in her attire, but always very humble in service to the country and people of Belize. And so I am especially honored to be able to pay my last respects to her today.
Her legacy is extensive, so much so that the youngest of the Girl Guides Association are familiar with her contributions to the development of the organization in Belize.
Normally what we do is during meetings we would speak on history, and that gives the girls a little insight of what happened before their times. And so you can sit and ask any girl, Brownie, you can ask any Brownie, or maybe even the Orchids, and they can tell you a little bit of history, even if it's the slightest little thing that maybe she was in a part of the first St. Mary's Park. They would know something about her or something about her past chief commissioner or something.
Minita Gordon's appointment as first Governor General of Belize, along with all the accolades bestowed upon her from the many accomplishments in her personal and professional life, has equally paved the way for women in leadership.
As you can see today, we have quite a few women in leadership. The Speaker of the House is here, the President of the Senate and other women leaders. And I am very humble and honored to pay respects for her today and to really honor her memory. I'd like to mention that one of my fondest memories of her is when she used to walk down with a nice big handbag over her elbow, you know, her right arm. And she wore bright colors and a big broad brim hat. And she would go about her business quietly, but with the kind of dignity that I believe in Belize we need to emulate today.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isana Cayetano.
In continuing with the protocols that will culminate in a state funeral on Wednesday, the pageantry afforded to Dr. Gordon by the BDF was fitting for a woman of her stature. On Monday, we reported on a leaked letter sent by the new chairman of the Public Utilities Commission to attorney Andrew Marshall-Legg. Chairman Molina is seeking legal advice regarding a sale made by the previous PUC board. It was the purchase of the old Marab building for a little over $10 million. The 2019 purchase has raised eyebrows. As we previously reported, Pierre Bonara, then a PUC commissioner, recused himself from meetings regarding the transaction. His brother, Mike Bonara, Chief Executive Officer of Boutros Bonara Company Limited, which owns Marab, has gone on record to confirm that report. News 5 has reached out to previous PUC Chairman John Avery about the sale, but he has not responded to our messages or calls. So this afternoon, Bunara sat down with the media to shed more light on the sale of 3 properties that comprise the transaction and how it was consummated.
The building was for sale for the past year or so. I was contacted by one of the directors from PUC about the building, and we had a meeting, we spoke about it, and that's when the negotiation started, probably a couple months prior to the contract.
Explain to us the interactions you had with the representatives of PUC about their purchasing this asset.
We had a meeting, I gave them the pricing that I'm interested in selling it at. It was agreed upon, and they went back to their board. They had their meetings back and forth. We negotiated a few items, and we agreed. That's how we had the agreement on December 5th.
Can you tell us if at all, you forgive my line of question if that's so, but can you tell us if at all the connection between Pierre Bunara and this particular company and how the transaction came about in terms of PUC negotiating to purchase the Merab building?
My brother Pierre had nothing to do with the negotiation. He was actually not involved. I'm the CEO of the company, and I met with Mr. Kimano Barrow and the chairman of the PUC, Mr. Avery, and we started the negotiations. Sorry?
Go ahead.
The sign for sale was there, and they knew everybody, the whole world knew about it.
Was your family member in any way interacted with this particular sale, giving any sort of contacts, any sort of connections to the people you met with?
Not as far as I'm concerned. I know he was not involved in any of it.
So what was included in the package that the PUC purchased? According to the businessman, the Merab building, including the property it sits on, and an open lot adjacent to the Belize Insurance Center, was bought for $10.3 million. He further explains how he acquired the piece of land owned by the PUC when they could not produce the money required for the down payment.
The contract that I did with PUC was for $10.3 million. That what people didn't mention is that consists of the old Merab building, and also another property next to the Belize Insurance Center. So the Merab building is about the old Merab building is about 21,000 square feet. The property sits on 2 lots with about 20,000 square feet of land. And then I have also the Belize Insurance, and a land next to Belize Insurance that was part of the deal. So in reality, 10.3, and it wasn't 11.3, it's 10.3. The 10.3 is for both the 3 properties together.
Can you explain to us how the payments were done and how you arrived at the payment plan in terms of either the installments or the initial $1 million that was put on, and of course the trade of the other property that PUC held?
So the contract deal was, the purchase price was $10.3 million. The agreement was for a deposit of $1.8 million Belize dollars. PUC had a property, or had a property on the George Price Highway that they were trying to sell. They mentioned to me that they're selling it for $1.5 million, and that will be part of the down payment. I said no problem, and back and forth negotiation. They keep telling me that it's coming. It didn't come true. I offered to buy the property at $1 million, and they kept trying to sell it for like 2 months, and they couldn't get a buyer. Finally, they agreed to sell it to me as a deposit, as part of the deposit payment for $1 million.
Sir, the clear issue here, I think, or one of them is, did the government overpay for an asset that is not worth as much as the agreement that was signed for it?
Definitely not, because if we calculate, and it's general terms, the building is 21,000 square feet. A building with that quality is, construction at the moment now at this time is anywhere between $250 and $500 a square foot, and that's public knowledge. something with that quality, let's take an average of $350 per square foot. That puts it at $7,350,000 for the building just to construct in today's market. What happened to the property that it sits on? That's one of the best properties in that area, luxurious area. It sits on 2 properties, 20,000 square feet. At $2 million for the property, that's 9.3, and the other property is worth $1 million, so that's 10.3. That's where the figure came from.
In respect of the payments that were made just before the elections, Bonara says that the PUC was late in its initial monthly payments, which are installments of $12,000. When they paid the sum owed, it was for a 3-month period. He rationalizes the advance by saying that the arrangement worked both ways. The food assistance program, a merging of the grocery bag program and the COVID food assistance, is whittling down in terms of the funds made available for the initiative to continue to the end of this financial year. As it stands, there are approximately 30,000 applications for relief through the Ministry of Human Development. That's a figure that government will not be able to satisfy by the end of March. Instead, the ministry is seeking to assist the neediest in all 31 constituencies across the country. According to Minister Dolores Balderramas Garcia, they would only cover 300 to 400 persons per constituency with the resumption and amalgamation of both programs.
We're working assiduously to get it rolled out in another week or 2. I can't guarantee the exact date, but I do know that all our ministry staff are working really hard. I think we have received in excess of 30,000 applications. And clearly, Isani, we will not be able to accommodate everyone. You know, I want to take this opportunity, and I'll come back to the details of it, but I want to take this opportunity to say that yes, our ministry is there for the social safety net aspects, but we also have to be advocates for empowerment. So when we talk about food basket, when we talk about food assistance, it shouldn't be to try to increase it. We should be trying to decrease it by getting jobs for our people. Of course, these are very difficult times, and the government right now, we're not only scratching our head, but we're putting the plans in place so that we can jumpstart the economy. Of course, we have to be so careful with the COVID, you know. But I do want to make the point that human development isn't there to provide a food assistance for everybody. That would be impossible. So I am hoping that we can reach the poorest of the poor, you know. And we will try our best to work with area reps and people who say, look, these are our indigent people and that kind of thing. If my figures are correct, now don't kill me if I get it wrong, but if my figures are correct, we may be able to assist about between 300 to 400 people per constituency, but again, trying to roll it out in an equitable way.
An extreme case of domestic violence was reported last week. A woman savagely beaten reportedly by her husband. The report has enraged the Belizean public and prompted the Ministry of Human Development on January 15th to issue a statement on the incident. The episode, allegedly perpetrated by Joel Bardales, was condemned by the government, and a call to end domestic violence was made once again, amid difficult times being faced as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Minister Balderramas Garcia reiterated the government's zero-tolerance position on domestic violence.
We realize, as we say in the statement, that we cannot comment on every single incident of intimate partner violence, domestic violence, gender-based violence, whichever term that we use in the appropriate context, you know. But we thought that because of how terrible this latest report was, we felt that it was important to reiterate a zero-tolerance policy of the ministry and all our partners. You know, we have the National Women's Commission. We will be commissioning new commissioners shortly. We have aspects of our ministry that have to respond to all cases of gender-based violence, whether it's against elderly people, whether it's against children. We have been receiving more reports of problems in the home and dysfunction because of the COVID situation, and people are in close quarters, and there may be a lot of frustration, again, because of lack of jobs, you know. But we felt that it was necessary for us to flag the fact that we have many partners. Right now we have something called the Spotlight Initiative with several partners, including the United Nations partners that we have, and several NGOs. We have our Women's Commission. So we wanted to make sure that we keep highlighting the fact that the fight and combating the gender-based violence is never ended. It is ongoing, and we all have to recommit ourselves, because it is a scourge that we have to try to reduce and wipe out if possible.
Police is still trying to put the pieces together to identify the decomposing skeletal remains of an unidentified man found last Saturday on the Macau riverbank. Police say that they have no active missing persons report that matches the remains. They now hope that a distinguishing tattoo lifted by the forensics team will help to identify the individual. The outline of the tattoo appears to be a female character with shoulder-length hair and lipstick.
Refers to the decomposed body that was found last week on the Black Rock Road in the Cayo district. The forensic doctors were able to reconstruct and lift a tattoo that was on the right chest of that person. That tattoo will be shared with the media so that we can be able to try and ascertain the identity of that person.
Coming up, how safe will the free zone be when it reopens? We have the details when we come back. The Curacao Free Zone will reopen in less than 2 weeks on February 1st. There is a lot at stake with the reopening of the zone, and serious preparations are underway to prevent the further spread of the COVID-19 virus, especially since Mexico has recorded 1.65 million cases and more than 140,000 deaths. What is even more worrisome is that the UK strain has been detected in Mexico. This new strain of the novel coronavirus has a higher transmissibility. Minister of Health and Wellness Michelle Shabat says that when deciding to reopen the zone, local officials gave serious consideration to the discovery of the new strain in Mexico, and that as much protection is being put in place to prevent a spread at the zone.
That is part of the consideration, Hipólito, and the team at the ministry were actually looking at the conditions under which we would recommend the opening of the free zone. We are very much aware that the new strain is in Mexico, and so we're making sure that we put together as best as we can, as much protection as we can, to ensure the flow and to ensure that the free zone can be opened in a safe way.
So that there won't be a delay as it comes to the reopening of the free zone in February?
Well, I don't want to say yes or no yet. What I will tell you is that we're working on the protocols that the Ministry of Health and Wellness will require before the free zone can formally open.
Okay, and are you aware whether or not Baylor College has identified new strains here in Belize?
I know that they are part of our team who's investigating, but to date, we have no evidence that the new strain is in Belize.
Meanwhile, the nationwide curfew from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. has been in effect since December 20th of last year. And in the Corozal and Orange Walk districts, the restrictions were stricter, with no cross-district and inter-district movement allowed. Since then, the COVID-19 cases in the northern districts have been steadily decreasing. There has been a call for the government to change the current quarantine regulations given the decreasing cases. The United Democratic Party has called on Briceño administration to update the health protocols and revisit the current quarantine regulations. According to Health and Wellness Minister Michelle Shabat, new changes to the regulations will be coming at the start of February.
In terms of the Corozal and Orange Walk district, is there still the need to restrict travel to and from and within those two districts?
That will remain in force at least until the 1st of February.
But even though their numbers are decreasing steadily over the past few weeks?
Yes. You see, for us to be certain that we have the pandemic under control or that we have a decline, a permanent decline in numbers, the positivity rate has to be at least 5% or lower over a period of 2 weeks consistently. And so we're not there yet. It looks good. It's looking good, but we're not there yet.
I would imagine now the concern is over Belize and Cayo districts.
Correct.
Would that entail more campaigning there, more measures there?
Well, what we've done out there, Hipólito, is, we launched our Christmas campaign, education campaign, and we're going to be following up. We followed up with a few more ads. And what we've done is we've expanded the testing in both districts and in the south. And so we're waiting to see that 2-week period to see where we are.
Now, in terms of the curfew, it was indefinite. Yes. Any consideration as to when the curfew would end?
Yes, we're looking at all of these things, and it is our intention to have a new set of rules for the 1st of February.
One man who agreed with the Health and Wellness Minister is the PUP Orange Walk mayoral candidate Ladrick Madball Shepherd. He says the current quarantine regulations have proven useful as the figures in both districts have been declining. Shepherd added that he has seen the positive effects of the regulations.
To be honest with you, it has been great. If something is working in the town itself overall, that the cases are going down, especially in Orange Walk. I know we have been getting a lot of bad names. Some people go to different places and, when they hear you come from Orange Walk, you don't want to hear none much for you. So the lockdown has changed a lot of that. Now the cases has been dramatically dropping down to the lowest level. I think the cases has been increasing in other parts of the district. So the lockdown is working, so we applaud the health department for doing this. Some of us might not like it, but to me, I don't have no problem with even with the curfew at 8 o'clock. You know, you have to make sure you do your thing before time and then you go home. So I applaud that. I have no problem, and I think the people from Orange Rock have no problem. Some of them, especially the vendors, have been complaining to me, you know, the lockdown, we need a lockdown. But let's see, let the health department do their part, and then from there we're gonna move from there.
Shifting to the regional perspective, the Pan American Health Organization held a public education virtual session this morning to speak about the COVID-19 situation in the Americas. The hour-long session discussed challenges the region is facing, including the increasing number of new cases and deaths, overwhelmed health systems, and access to vaccines. Director of PAHO, Dr. Carissa Etienne, says that she is concerned that the region registered more than 2 million deaths last week. Dr. Etienne says the Americas is failing to control the virus and calls on countries to take serious action to curb the spread. The Pan American Health Organization is also an integral partner for the government of Belize. PAHO, through funding from the European Union, has secured down payments to purchase over 1 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine for all Caribbean member states, including Belize. For Belize, that means vaccine coverage for 30% of the population. Health and Wellness Minister Michelle Shabat says that the vaccine will not be in the country until a few more months. He says that the government and PAHO are working to determine a delivery date.
We're working diligently to get the vaccine into the country, and so we're just asking our population to please be patient as they can. I know we've asked a lot of them already, but give us a little bit more time to be able to get this vaccine into the country, and that should help us to breathe a little. As you know, we have signed on to the COVAX facility. We have paid already for 30% of the vaccine we need for our population, and so we're working with PAHO to determine a delivery date for Belize.
CAMS is an acronym for the Coronavirus Active Management System, an app created by Belizean economist and programmer Renison Crawford. Crawford is currently pursuing a postgraduate degree in Austria, but recently returned home and wants to assist the country in its fight against the deadly novel coronavirus. So what's so special about his app? He says that in its design, he managed to eliminate the need for 24/7 internet access to track a person, be that a Belizean or a tourist, and speaks of minimizing the risk of contracting the virus. CAMS would allow for an individual's biometric data, which could be accessed through your social security number, and tracks where you've been over the last 7 days. This information, Crawford says, can help in mapping and tracking exercises by health officials.
I created a system designed uniquely for this purpose, to operate in an environment where you have limited internet access. Population has limited access not only to internet, to technology on a whole. So you can't hold people accountable. But what I could do is hold the business accountable, not accountable, but responsible, because they will be the gatekeeper in this system. The businesses, the public spaces, like for example, banks, hospitals, pharmacies, so forth, will be the gatekeepers of this system. And the way it works is that a user, if they want to enter some premises or some location or bus per se, anything, they would have to scan their QR code or give their identification number, which would be their social security number. The app is simple to use. It can be downloaded by any device, whether it's a smartphone, whether it's a computer like you have seen the previous before, doesn't matter. It will work anywhere you put it, as long as the person has a browser. Now, it's designed with a system whereby you have hubs and you have user. The hubs are the ones required to have internet access, but the users don't. You don't even need to have the app, in all honesty. All the users would need is a social security number or a QR code they can download and print. But for convenience, I would recommend for them to have the app on their phone. As long as they scan you at that moment, at that time, at that location, you'll be registered in the system. Mr. Moody entered Brody's at this time, so forth, so forth. And everyone else who entered after you or a period of time will keep tabs on. Say per se a week later, they find out you have contracted the virus. Everyone you came in contact with through those different locations and hubs will be notified that they may have been in contact with someone who have who has been tested positive for COVID-19.
Crawford is hoping to gift the app to the health or tourism officials to assist in our pandemic response. He says Belizeans need not worry about privacy or stigma, as the data collected will be accessed only by Ministry of Health officials when a positive case is identified. Parties are finalizing their municipal slates, and we'll tell you some of the names sure to be on the ballot when we return. The municipal election will be held on Wednesday, March 3rd. Both major political parties have been working on finalizing their slates in each municipality. In Orange Walk, the PUP selected the new mayoral candidate following the successful election of Kevin Bernard as Orange Walk East area representative. Councillor Ladrick Madbull Shepherd has stepped up to lead a team of young and new candidates. News 5's Hippolyta Novello met the young politicians on the campaign trail today.
The PUP's Orange Walk slate is ready for battle on March 3rd. Ladrick Madbull Shepherd wants to be the next Orange Walk mayor, and he's leading a young and new slate under the team Together Development Continues.
This has always been my passion and my dream since I won my first election in 2012. I won again in 2015 and then finally in 2018. Then I decided that no, this is my turn.
And since 2012, Shepherd has been the people's favorite candidate, receiving the highest number of votes in every election he has contested, each time higher than the last. For the past 3 terms, Shepherd has been part of a council that has been working while the PUP was in opposition. He believes that since his party is now central government, he can do more for Orange Walk residents. Even though he is seen as the sports councillor, this mayor of Hopeful says he has what it takes to lead the town.
So what if I tell you the criticism is that, Bull, all you know is sports. How can you manage an entire town?
At the end of the day, I will tell my public at reflect back to what has been happening in the Orange Walk Town Council again. I say again, this town council has been working. We didn't sit back and wait and say, oh, because we were under UDP central government, we will not make a move. Kevin was bold enough to tow the whole team and tow this town and do as much work as he could without no regrets. And like I said, I being the mayoral candidate now for Orange Walk, we can only get better, we can do more work.
However, don't you feel that you're being too overly hopeful, maybe to a fault, because you believe that the PUP's massive election win in November may spill into municipal election?
No, I don't think so, Polo. On just myself, my credibility and the work that I've done in the community, apart from the sport itself, I've done actually many things to the community. So you want people to believe in the mayoral candidate, they want people to believe in the person who I am.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning.
But it's not only about Mad Bull, but also about his entire team, and today we caught up with them on the campaign trail. They are mostly newcomers: Dorette Pascasio, Allen Yu, Joanna Rodriguez, Joyce Canton, Kadir Escalante, and Fernando Sanchez, who is seeking a second term.
What I hope to achieve in the next 3 years is that I want the youth to be more a part of the town council. I want to be able to pave more streets. I want to educate single mothers out there, not only educate them, but I also want to help them in the community so that they can become independent individuals.
I see the needs of the community, and I hope that I could, if elected, hopefully I can make things better.
Okay, so how do you plan to make things better with your skills and your talent if come after election?
For example, mayor candidate Ladrick Shepherd gave me an idea, because they wanted to have a safer town. And one way we could do that, we were thinking maybe implementing maybe cameras at key points in the town. And that's something that hopefully I could use my assets and with technology, and I could hope to implement.
I'm an environmentalist at heart, and I always believe that going green is the way forward. So what I want to work on is the amount of garbage that the households produce. So I want to work with bettering the garbage collections, going green, having cleanup campaigns, and I know that together we could have a greener and more beautiful town.
And this PUP slate says that it has been warmly welcomed by voters in Orange Walk Town.
We have an excellent team. I think these are faces that the Orange Walk people has been seeing many times in the community. And I think with the aggressiveness that we have, we can do wonders here today.
Reporting for News 5, Hippolyta Novello.
One man who didn't make it on the PUP's Orange Walk slate is Haresh Vaswani. He first joined the PUP team in 2018. He was elected a councillor with 5,054 votes. Vaswani has had his run-in with the law after being charged for violating the COVID-19 regulations. However, Vaswani says that he has worked for the community for the past 3 years, establishing an internet and resource center and distributing more than 700 grocery bags to town residents. He feels that the party has betrayed him. According to Shepherd, Vaswani did apply to run once more, but it was the party's national executive that rejected the application.
Well, at the end of the day, the executive decided that we're going with this team. There were 9 of them. 9 people applied for the post of only 6 council candidates, and the executive decided that we're going with the 3 female, and then we're going with the 3 male, and then nobody contested me for the mayoral candidate. When we put in our name. So I think we gotta leave it as is. I don't think there is none of us that is bigger than the party. The party is the most powerfulest thing. So we go with whatever the party says. Then from there we go.
Okay, but Harish applied and he was rejected. Basically, that's what you're saying. Or?
Yes, there were 9. 9 people applied. 9 people applied, and they took 6 out of the 9, and he was the one that they didn't take out of the 9.
No. Do you think, because the national executive is national, not being local, do you think that Harish not being on your slate this time around takes away from the work that he's been doing for the past 3 years here at the council, getting to know people, establishing the center?
Yes, I do believe that. Like I said, I do believe that he was working, and I applaud him for the work that he did for the past 3 years. Excellent. He's a great person, I applaud him for all the work that he did. But we have to go with what the executive decide. They have the most power when it comes to politics, and I always say that. Sometimes we might not decide, we might like the decision that the executive make, but at the end of the day, they are overall seers for us, and we go with that. So like I said, we once again, we thank him for all that he did for the past 3 years, and we move on.
You would hope that he would have remained in the slate, though.
Yes, it would be great if it had stayed on, but like I said, we move on.
But you can choose your candidates. You know who you're running with.
Again, nobody is bigger than the executive and the power of the PUP, so we move on.
Here in Belize City, the final PUP slate is still unknown. Mayor Bernard Wagner has confirmed that he will be seeking re-election, but it's anyone's guess as to who will be on his slate. Party Chairman Henry Charles told us that the slate would be finalized as early as this week, as the successful applicants' names are with the steering committee to determine who will get the final approval. One person that we can confirm will not be on that ballot on March 3rd is Deputy Mayor Michael Chips Norales. He explains why.
When it comes to the slate for the City Council, I think they are still trying to decide if they're going to have a convention or not. That's what I think. I'm not sure. But I, for one, will not be seeking re-election because from the beginning, in 2017, when I was approached to be a part of the slate, then I had expressed to those concerned that I would only have been serving 1 term. So I will stick to my word and migrate from Belize City. I did what I could have done, but I realized that...
migrating?
Yeah, to down south. I'm going back down south. So I'm sticking to the word. I had told my team the first time I met everybody, that I would only be serving 1 term, just to make sure that we could start doing what the party intended to do here in Belize City.
The by-election for the Corozal Bay constituency that was left vacant by the recent death of David Dido Vega will be held simultaneously with the municipal elections on March 3rd. The PUP has made a call for interested candidates, and this is even after the late Vega's sister, Elvia Vega Samos, had already announced her interest in contesting the by-election. The Corozal Bay executive has expressed their support for Vega Samos, who was also her brother's former campaign manager. News 5 spoke with PUP Chairman Henry Charles about it.
Mrs. Elvia Vega Samos has expressed interest. I know that she's campaigning. She's been on the ground. She's also have her Facebook page and different social media pages set up. I'm excited by her candidacy. I won't lie to you. In her own right, Elvia brings a lot to the table. Elvia, she was a campaign manager for her brother, so she knows the people. She has been around, working with Dido, working in the constituency. So it's not something that is foreign to her. It's something that she's very familiar with. It's something that she's excited to be a part of.
My unconditional support is to whoever the party decides to put there. What I can tell you, right, I am supporting Ms. Elvia Vega. I believe the people will also support her. And she's a part of the late Honorable Dido Fraction, a very good friend of mine. who I learned a lot.
The deadline for applications to contest the by-election is January 29th. When we come back, we'll tell you why environmentalists are worried about the tapir population.
Todos estamos en riesgo de contraer la COVID-19, por lo que es importante reconocer rápidamente los signos y síntomas de la infección. Los síntomas más comunes son fiebre, tos seca y cansancio o fatiga. Algunas personas también pueden tener dolor de garganta, dolores y molestias, congestión nasal o diarrea. Pero algunas personas también han reportado conjuntivitis, dolor de cabeza, pérdida de sabor u olor, sarpullido en la piel o un cambio en el color de los dedos de las manos o los pies. Los signos de alarma de emergencia que requieren atención médica inmediata son dificultad extrema para respirar, dolor constante y severo o presión en el pecho, confusión, dificultad para hablar o moverse, labios, rostro, dedos de las manos o de los pies azulados. Para mayor información, llame al 0800-664-2273. Protejamos nuestra salud.
In these challenging times, the one thing that is certain is that the Belize Bank Limited is here for you. There is nothing more important than your health and safety, and we continue to make every effort to make banking safer for you. Our staff is working around the clock to make sure you can do your banking conveniently 24/7 using our mobile banking app and online banking and keeping ATMs up and running. We value your relationship with us and are here to provide the support you need. First responders are also out there 24/7. Thank you, healthcare workers, security forces, firefighters, caregivers. You are all appreciated. Stay safe. We will get through this together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Hola, Tony.
Hey, Kevin, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasa?
Nada, le vine a buscar porque necesito comprar más mercancías de vasos y platos desechables para mi tienda de comestible. Me estoy quedando sin esas cosas.
No, hombre, fíjate que desde el 15 de abril no puedo importar nada de eso. Y se me acaba de terminar todo lo que tenía hace como 3 semanas.
Oye, pero nunca has estado sin esas cosas. ¿Qué está pasando?
Mira esto. Esta es la nueva ley que prohíbe todo el uso de plásticos no reutilizables. Esos son vasos, platos, cucharas, tenedores, todo eso. Desde 15 de abril de este año no he podido importar nada de eso. A partir del 15 de enero del 2021 nadie puede fabricarlo. 15 de abril 2021 nadie lo puede vender. Y a partir del 14 de julio del 2021 si alguien te agarra con eso, te multan.
Híjole, no sabía eso. Necesito cambiar algunas cosas. Les diré a mis clientes por qué esas cosas ya no están disponibles. Gracias, Antonio.
Así es, cuídate.
Currently, we're using Smart Elite Vibe calling plan. We use it interbranch, we use it to call outside, and we also use it to call international. It's far cheaper than what we used to have before. Our equipment are new, PBX box is new. So the PBX is very good because I can call to my Sartaneja branch, I can call to my Kikaka branch, I can call to San Pedro branch, and there's no cost using the PBX. Actually right now, since we're in different locations, I can call main office from where I am at a no cost using the PBX system. I would recommend it, sure I would, especially the big enterprises who has a lot of employees. There's a lot of reduction in costs, 50% of saving. But that on a year, it's a lot of money that we're saving. Money that we could return to our members since we give back dividend to our members.
Visit our showroom or call 670-6710 to find out how Smart's corporate plan and PBX systems can benefit your business. Consultation is free.
A young tapir lost its life on Sunday night. It's the second tapir killed in a road traffic accident on the John Smith Link Road in 2 months. Images from the accident show the tapir dead on the scene and an SUV with damage to the vehicle's front portion. Today, Celsa Pot, the operations manager of the Belize Zoo and PhD candidate carrying out doctoral research into tapirs, says the death of the mountain cow is not just disturbing, but tragic for the species. Poot points out that the area has a high density of tapirs, but nothing has been done to conserve the national animal, even though he raised concerns before the new road was built. Here's that story.
This young male tapir was knocked down and killed on the John Smith Link Road on Sunday night. Celsa Pot is the operations manager of the Belize Zoo. He's also a PhD candidate who has been carrying out research on tapirs in Belize for many years. Through his studies and work with the animals, he found out that there appears to be a high number of tapirs in the John Smith Link Road area. So when the area was being developed, he raised concerns about how these activities could displace the animals.
It was very sad, it was very disturbing, because this is the second recorded tapir that has been knocked down, on that road since November. We had one of a very big, a very large male tapir got knocked down in November, and now this second one is also a young male, so a very young male, not fully matured. It could be a young, what we call a dispersing male, so he's trying to find his home, his area that he will inhabit. When they were constructing the Airport Link Road, I made an appearance at one of the EIA consultation, and I made them aware that that area has a high density of tapir and that mitigation measures would need to be put in place for tapir safe crossing in that area. The concern was noted, and the response I got was that they were going to put rumble strips in place.
But the developer didn't install the rumble strips on the road to slow down the vehicles and help keep drivers alert, nor were tapir crossing signs placed in the area to warn drivers. This video shows that motorists are driving at high speed through this new road during the day, and Pot is concerned that even more tapirs will be hit during the night, as this area is dark and tapirs move slowly when crossing roads, which make them targets for fast-moving vehicles. Pot is currently carrying out research with the help of cameras to learn how humans influence the movement, behavior, and occurrence of tapirs in the Belize district. He calls on the authorities for safety measures to be implemented, which he says can save an animal or a human life.
We wouldn't want somebody to crash into a tapir and die, because then they give the tapir a black eye. You know, the tapir get bad name. And so we would want to avoid that. So I'm appealing to the Ministry of Works to look at that area. The road is new. The amount of traffic on that road, also the speeding. It's very concerning for wildlife in the area. Out in this, what we call also a human modified landscape, because there's a lot of people out there. With the Airport Link Road, that whole area is now like an island, because you have the Philip Golson Highway, you have the Burrell Boom Road, you have the Airport Link Road, you have the George Price Highway. Now they're in an island, and they have 4 major roads they need to cross. So we need to look at that seriously, how we're going to mitigate to help our national animals survive well into the future.
But the future of the tapir hangs in the balance. One of the biggest threats to their survival is the loss of habitat, like this young tapir that was knocked down and killed because the range became fragmented due to the construction of a new road. But conservationists and researchers like Pot are working hard to ensure that Belize's population of tapirs remains strong and healthy, although they don't know approximately how many there are in the wild. Globally, the numbers are dwindling and mountain cows are endangered. Research shows that there may be only 5,000 mature tapirs left throughout the geographic range of southern Mexico to northern Colombia. The conservation of tapir is critical to the biodiversity of ecosystems across the world, because these mammals play important roles that help to maintain the rich variety of plants and animals. Pot points out that one of those roles these animals play is that of seed dispersers, which has a direct impact on timber activities in Belize.
One of the timber that is of economic value to Belize, the sapodilla. So we harvest the sapodilla. That's an economic important species of timber. But the tapir is one of the main disperser of the seeds for sapodilla. The sapodilla fruit is a big fruit, so very few of the wildlife could move the seed across the forest for regeneration. The tapir, it's been proven through research, it's one of the few species that move sapodilla seed, and they move them far from the parent tree.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
For more information, you can check out the Belize Tapir Project on Facebook. The government will appoint a new commissioner to deal with the carrying out of the CCJ's consent order regarding the issue of Maya land rights and the Appellate Court's ruling in the days ahead. On Thursday, however, the government of Belize will be reporting to the Caribbean Court of Justice with an update on the process of executing the consent order, which was part of a judgment handed down 6 years ago. According to Minister Dolores Balderramas Garcia, whose portfolio includes Indigenous Peoples Affairs, the previous administration's process was painfully slow and frustrating, and showing up to the court to report on new developments was quite awkward.
In 2015, there was the consent judgment of the Caribbean Court of Justice, which means that nobody held a gun to the government's head and said, you have to sign on to this. So having signed on to it, we must show now the goodwill to implement. Unfortunately, the process was very, very painfully slow. So painfully slow in the previous dispensation, if I could call it that it was somewhat embarrassing even to go to court for the updates because nothing much was happening. Now, Isani, this coming now into the portfolio of a ministry, we really want to make a good go of it. We want to signal a new day of respect, first of all, for all the Maya people, and secondly, engagement. We may not always agree because there is the concept of what you call free, prior, and informed consent. Now, if there are third-party rights over land that is leased, if there is the wish to do mining, if there's the wish to fell trees and do forestry, if there might be petroleum under somebody's feet down in Santa Teresa or Mabilha or Dolores or by the way, I have to go to Dolores one of these days. I haven't been yet. But what I want to say is that we have to report to the Caribbean Court of Justice on Thursday. And Minister Gilroy Usher and myself plan to sit into the virtual hearing so that we can signal our government's willingness to engage. We're in the process of appointing a new commissioner, not only for the Maya land rights case, but also for Indigenous people altogether. And of course, that will include our Garifuna sisters and brothers.
Coming up, a donation to help ease the trauma our children are experiencing. 2020 proved to be a year of disasters, from multiple storms to the ongoing pandemic. And the trauma of all of it will remain etched in our minds. UNICEF wants to remind us that the most vulnerable group in any disaster is our children. Child-friendly spaces are widely used in emergencies as a first response to children's needs. Today, following a series of training, UNICEF handed over recreational tools to its partners. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports from the Biltmore Plaza in Belize City.
There are a lot of issues within a disaster that impacts on children. And as this ranges from whether it's natural disaster, it's a conflict, it's maybe even violence in the home, it's a disruptive home, it's maybe families going through a breakup. It's a disaster for a child. It's very traumatic.
Child-friendly spaces are used as a supporting tool for the care and protection of children in emergencies and help with recovery from traumatic experiences that have long-term effects on the psychosocial well-being of a child. UNICEF believes that mitigating the risks associated with emergencies, including disasters, is necessary and is doing just that. Alison Parker says it is not to take on the role of government departments in response to emergencies, but to support the efforts.
Working in collaboration with the government and working in partnership with an NGO like Belize Red Cross that has networks at the community level is important and strategic. We do develop policies, we support capacity building within systems, but one of the most important areas that we are looking at also as UNICEF is how do we reach the child at the community and household level, which is crucial. And that's where the child-friendly spaces come in.
Today at the Biltmore Plaza in Belize City, recreational kits including puzzles, volleyball, netball and other games were handed over to the City Emergency Management Organization and the Belize Red Cross, which have partnered with UNICEF Belize to establish child-friendly spaces. It is to stimulate the minds of children. The recreational kit is coupled with training of 30 volunteers from across the country.
Right now what we had done was train 30 volunteers. They come from the community disaster response teams, probably some shelter managers, so that they will be able to know what to do in these child-friendly spaces in times of emergency. That was the focus. But it is now to establish those places for ongoing protection.
And sometimes we don't notice the trauma in children because they're quiet, they cannot articulate it. Sometimes it's their behavior. They may either become very aggressive or they become very recluse, they are quiet, they don't say anything. But this is why the child-friendly spaces are important, because they create a space where you have trained individuals, trained counselors, trained social workers who can identify some of these needs of the children.
Deputy Mayor Michael Norales says that he was first introduced to the child-friendly spaces concept back in 2018, and they are in the process of identifying these spaces.
What we'll do now as the City Council, we'll make sure that this project will be done at a higher level through our programs department.
These child-friendly spaces, is this the City Council that was responsible to find these spaces?
Well, to be honest, yes, we were tasked with that, but we were also supposed to work in conjunction with the Ministry of Human Development and Youth. But now we will make sure that everything is streamlined.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
The donation as well as the training was valued at $60,000. And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in text at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at News 5 Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.